listen, we've got two choices. We could either have a bit of a break now, 5 minutes for go to the toilet or smoking or something, and then come back. Don't lose your seat, of course. Or we can just go through for another 20 minutes and stop a bit earlier and go to the pub. Hands up for the first option, which was you have a break now. Hands up. Hands up. The second option, which we carry on. Oh, everybody. Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. Okay. So, please, will somebody tell me what it is about this magic word, matriarchy, which gets like 500 people. It's not 500, is it? But it's like, I don't know, what is it? 100?
Facebook said 199.
How did it get on Facebook? Anyway, okay. Okay. I mean, this is wonderful. But on the other hand, you, if I could, do you mind me asking you, what were you hoping to hear about, and why? What made you want to come?
Well, I brought my 11-year-old daughter along.
Ah, right. Where's your 11-year-old daughter? Oh, hello, 11-year-old daughter. Hello. Welcome. Yeah.
This is exactly everything we wanted to do. I thought there would, because I'm studying anthropology now at Goldsmiths.
Oh, right, yeah.
I thought it would be more historical context, but it's really nice that it's contemporary context and, well, that it's newer things, not just talking about the Troviandas.
Okay. Well, shall I say in my loud voice?
Yeah.
Well, the expectation was I would be possibly talking about historical stuff rather than talking about hunter-gatherers and humans like now. And I'm not. You're right. I'm not really an archaeologist, and I'm not really a historian. I'm more of I think I'm an evolutionary anthropologist. Okay. So, but I'm very interested in the history. So, anyone else want to say something about why you're here, how you've heard about it, whether you feel happy that you've? Yes.
I heard about it on Facebook.
Right.
I'm not an anthropologist. I'm a scientist.
Right.
You often hear about how terrible patriarchy is, patriarchy, and it's the first thing I've seen advertised. I was probably interested about patriarchy, so I thought, let's go and hear what you've got to say. It must be very interesting.
Thank you very much. I should possibly say that the theory I'm basing myself on, it's true that I wrote this book a while ago, but it's actually been brought very much more up to date recently. So the book you want to have if you want to be up to date is Human Origins, Contributions from Social Anthropology, edited by Camilla Power, Morna Finnegan and Hilary Cullen. Yeah, okay, I'm just saying, some of you may want to follow this stuff up. It's so strange. Last week we had Camilla giving a talk about the origins of art, beauty magic and the origins of art, and what there was, I don't know, 30 people here. And now there's all you lovely lot. Wonderful. And also it's great to see lots of men. It's not just all women, which is obviously great. Anyone else want to say why you're here and what you... Yes?
Hello, I want to say thank you so much. I travelled for 7 hours to be here.
Oh my God. Oh, hold on. Maybe it's worth it.
Yeah, just amazing. So I saw it on Facebook, but
So everyone's come from Facebook, right?
So I study in this area, but I work with the menstrual blood and I work with groups of women. And,
oh, really?
The gifts of the menstrual
well, why don't you stand up and tell everyone? Please, just say what you do. No?
Oh my God, I'm terrified.
No? All right. Sit down and say. Sit down and say, yes. I'm to hear what you do. Yeah.
Louder,
because if you don't stand up, people can't hear, that's all. But anyway.
Oh my God,
There is a mic here.
Sit on this table.
Yeah, so...
Oh my God.
Great.
Hi. Oh my God, I'm really going to shake. Where are my friends? I've got friends.
Just tell us in a very matter-of-fact way what you do.
So I work with groups of women. We work with the menstrual cycle and we work with the moon. So we work around the 4 lunar archetypes. Oh God, this is terrifying. The 4 lunar archetypes of woman's cycle, which is essentially the blood, which is the lover and the depth into the sensuality and the connection with nature, the psychic gifts, the intuitive gifts. Never done this. We then move into the waxing moon, which is the warrior, the fire, coming through with our voice, our power, our authority. We move round into ovulation, which is that abundant and fecund and soulful nature of woman. And then we come round in the waning to the shamanic and the priestess, essentially. So I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say that there's tens of thousands of women doing this work currently, and they're modern women, they're Western women, they're patriarchal women, and there's something really deep in their body that's calling them to another truth, another wisdom, and they are doing it. So it's not just
It's amazing.
there.
Somehow the tide has turned.
Yes, it's
Somehow
happening.
the tide has turned. The fact that you're all here has shown that something amazing is
Yes.
beginning to happen. And do we need it? I mean, what a mess men have made of the world for the last few thousand years.
So
yeah.
Your name?
Yes,
my
your
name is
name, yeah.
Phoenix Nagig, so I came into my room name. So every woman has a
You
room
say
name.
Nagig? Like Sheila Nagig?
Yes. So
Up with the Sheila Nagig.
yes, and I have the moons tattooed on my back
Right.
because that's the But there's loads. You can go and find them. Wild Woman Sisterhoods, Priestess Temples. You can find them
There's
online.
the Red Tent movement as well.
Red Tent Movement. I'm the Womb Whisperer. I'm not normally this nervous. Oh my God! But there's just loads of different ways that women are connecting to this. Without even using the word goddess, they're just connecting to their essential nature as a power and a force for good and love. And what culture doesn't want that? What culture doesn't want a woman who's emotionally sane, balanced, embodying her erotic, her sensuality, her sexuality, and her shamanic prophetic gifts.
Oh, absolutely marvellous. I'm sorry to say follow that, but someone's got to be brave and follow that. Yes.
Could I just say, I just think that women have the control. They've just forgotten that they've got it.
That's right.
And that who built the hut in the first place? The women got the men who built the hut for them.
Of course.
And that was just as kind of what I gathered. I'm just a mother whose daughter mentioned it, and we just came.
Yes,
So
I
I'm
mean,
not-
I do hope some of you will stay around. I mean, you can go. Maybe a few people. Does anyone want to leave now? Because it might be best to wait. Everyone that wants to leave, we leave now. Does anyone want to leave now? Sorry.
I don't want to, but I have to.
You have, of course, you want. So I want those who have to leave or want to leave now. Maybe it would be best to do it now rather than. Sorry. Okay, I've been asked how much longer. We're normally going to finish at 8:30 and go to the pub. So we've got half an hour more. Okay, that's a good question. Half an hour more. I hope you'll stay, all of you, because there's lots to talk about and maybe to organise even. I don't know. But I know some of you have to go a bit earlier. And also, if you do go, there'll be room for the people who've been standing all the time. Yes, I'm going to ask you, but just let's wait until everyone who needs to go out has gone out. So we've now left a bit of space here, and there's a couple of seats if anyone wants to come in. And please, of course, those of you who are going, come next week, because this is not just this evening, it's next week as well. Right, is there anybody else? Anybody else? Yes, hello, yes. Shh, please. Yes.
More of a practical thing, but
Right.
you had a very good quote about women in the throes of their moon time having the right to contemplate the meaning of life.
Yeah.
I was just wondering where it's from. So
It's from a book that I was part of called Blood Magic, The Anthropology of Menstruation, edited by Tim Buckley and Alma Gottlieb. And it was the chapter in there on the Yurok. I've got a chapter on the Australian Aborigines, but it's on Tim Buckley's chapter. Okay, great. Any other?
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes? All right, okay.
We've spoken about the women who actually menstruate.
Yeah.
What about the ones that don't?
Yes, that's
Does that mean that they don't have any
No.
power anymore?
That's such a brilliant question. Thank you so much. Okay, so now, it's actually the women who are not menstruating who have the most reason to perform the ritual. So it's the older women, the sisters, the aunts, the mum of the girl who started to menstruate, who have a real motivation to grab that girl and celebrate her period and participate in her blessing, if you like, her fertility. And Camilla talked about this. Camilla Power talked about this last week. Obviously you weren't here last week, So maybe, do you want me to sort of say, take about 3 minutes to sort of explain the sort of theory? It's Camilla's theory largely, not mine, but I totally agree with it. Okay, so what we do here, we link biological anthropology with social and cultural anthropology. Everything happens at UCL, that's why I love it, it's because we don't do what it means to be human in halves, what it means to be a body, and then what it means to be a mind. We think we are embodied, like we were just hearing now about women's embodiment. So, if you're doing biological anthropology, you really don't have a choice about whether to agree with Darwin. I mean, you just have to think, well, I'm sorry, but Darwin kind of got it, okay? If you're a scientist, you know, I know Donald Trump and people don't like Darwinism, and fundamentalist Christians don't like Darwin, but if you're doing animals, Darwinism is it, really. Every educated person, I think, knows that. And why am I saying that? It's because before you get morality, before you get religion, before you get symbolic culture, we would have lived something like the way non-human primates live. And what happens is that the alpha male gets somebody pregnant, moves on, gets somebody else pregnant, moves on, gets somebody else pregnant. And that's because the male is kind of designed to maximize what we call his fitness. His body knows how to get those genes of his into the future. And the male will get more of his genes into the future by getting somebody pregnant, and then another one, and then another one, and another one, than he would by being nice and faithful to one female. So one male can get a whole bunch of females pregnant, and then he's doing well by those standards. So now, as I was saying, by the way, this is just Camilla Powell's theory and Sarah Herder's theory, and according to my theory, and most of us agree with it here. Okay, what happened was that the human female in the course of evolution was less and less able to afford that kind of roving male strategy, as we call it. And the reason was that evolving human females living in larger groups, coming out of the savannah, leaving the forests, threatened by predators, therefore seeking safety in numbers, more complex social life, putting pressure on the brain to be more clever about calculating who's your enemies, who's your friends. Okay, babies needed to have larger brains, but the problem is that larger brain babies are more costly and burdensome, and therefore females needed to do things to counter that roving male strategy. And what happened was that, okay, the dominant male, he needs to save time on sex. He wants to know who to get pregnant, when. So, and of course, cutting a huge lot of stories short, the female, if she wants to save time on sex, because why do you need more sperm once you're pregnant? You need to do other stuff. She gives a signal with her body, and it's called an estrous signal, like a swelling. And that tells the male, right, this is when I'm ovulating, this is time to have sex with me, but it's like a relatively brief period of sexual receptivity. And the evolving human female didn't want to save time on sex, because her idea is to make it harder and harder. I don't say her idea, that's an old way of putting it. The evolving human female, under Darwinian natural selection, evolved a body which made it harder and harder for the roving male strategy to work. And how do you make it harder? You don't give away the vital information, you conceal it. So the evolving human female increasingly concealed ovulation so that it becomes a secret, and extended receptivity through the cycle, so that the male has got no information as to when to have sex. And if he wants to get anyone pregnant, he's got to hang around and have lots and lots of sex, spending time which the female can then make use of if he's somebody who can provide some other help, other stuff than sperm, like getting food and stuff. So, in a minute, yes, okay. So now, okay, long story. What happened was that although concealing ovulation worked, what it did is a bit paradoxical. Once the evolving human female had phased out that signal of fertility, it left salient another signal which previously had been not very interesting. So, okay, gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos, they menstruate, the females menstruate, but nobody's interested, the males don't care. Why? Because menstruation just means you'll be fertile in 2 weeks. Ovulation means you're fertile now, so they're much more interested in the estrous swelling. But the human females phased out the estrous swelling, which then leaves salient, only one signal left, which the alpha male can home in on, because that's the one he can get pregnant. Can you see what happened? If males are any use, if they're providing anything you can, time, commitment, energy, food you can use, you don't want the male that's got you pregnant suddenly going off and chasing after the one young woman maybe in the community who's showing by the fact that she's cycling that you can get her pregnant. So, okay, I'm going to put this in a very stark form now. Please don't get upset, I'm a scientist. Biological menstruation becomes dangerous. menstruation left in its raw biological state becomes a threat because it gives away vital information to the males. And the danger is that all those males, and they'd all be roving males if they can get away with it, will then pile in on the one female that can get pregnant, maybe fight each other, but whatever it is, it'll be at the expense of all the other females. And so what happened, we're sure of this, the other females had a strategy to conceal even that information. And so what happens, the older women, who would be threatened by one young girl capturing all the attention, got to her first. So the older women, okay, grab that girl, stop her being a threat, surround her, bond with her, sing with her, dance with her, intertwine the legs with her, turn the threat into a, if you like, turn the curse into a blessing, turn the threat into a celebration. And the reason why we have these menstrual rituals is to turn around what would otherwise be a dangerous giveaway of vital information to the males who don't want to have that information. And then in the course of that, women linking with each other, you have to prevent the males from seeing any distinction between her and everyone else. It's like the women are saying, if you want sex, you're going to have to be nice kind of to all of us. We don't want you picking and choosing between us on the basis of our biological signals. So sing together, dance together, and then paint up together. And how do they do that? Ochre. We had a whole talk last week about how the world's first art was on the body, and we now know what the pigments were. They were red ochre crayons. The earliest archaeological evidence of art is the form of these brilliant red ochre crayons, rather like lipsticks, used across the body. So, and it was the women who were not menstruating who had most to gain in making sure that ritual was performed. Of course, in a natural fertility population, without contraceptives, most women for most of the time won't be menstruating. They'll be pregnant or nursing. Only now and again will somebody have weaned their baby and start cycling again, or only now and again will a girl come into menstruation. So menstruation is a relatively rare thing, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be kind of dangerous in the sense that it will flag up, like a red flag, the fact that one woman can be got pregnant when the others can't. And the danger is this philandering male who has to be kind of dealt with. And but when I'm saying that, what I'm saying is, and we're all saying this, we became human. We escaped Darwinism. We're not Darwinians anymore. Men are lovely, okay? They're wonderful creatures, incredibly kind, sensitive, generous. I'm one of them. but it's women who domesticated us and made us relatively nice. I mean, we're not all that nice. There's all kinds of things about us, and especially if we let us have too much power. But I do get into trouble. People say, "Oh, Chris, you're just thinking males are all awful roving males having sex with everybody," and and of course we've had this huge #MeToo campaign against precisely those kinds of males. You're absolutely right. But women dealt with these problems a long time ago, in the way we describe them. So all this stuff about Harvey Winehouse or Donald Trump, all that stuff. These are the issues which were dealt with by early women in constructing culture, in establishing the human revolution. So in a way, there's nothing new under the sun or the moon. It's all kind of happening again. I hope I've sort of answered the question. Yes.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Yes.
I've got a question. All those hunter-gatherers that you've been describing and you've been living, were they actually aware of the male input, in propagating the species?
No.
Now, because if they were not, that's basically the origin of matriarchy. Because patriarchy comes with pastoralist societies where
you're right about
you
that,
observe creatures that take less than their 9 months to actually produce something.
Well,
9 months is a long time.
There's some element of truth in that. There's certainly a truth in the idea that pastoralism, herding, was the initial factor, economic factor behind the establishment of patriarchy. But I don't think it was just that humans were observing animals, hunter-gatherers observed animals having sex, and all that stuff. But anyway, the different ways of answering a question. Everybody's genitals know what to do. You don't have to have it knowledge in your head. So any gorilla, any chimpanzee's body knows how to get people pregnant, and every female body knows how to get pregnant. So the knowledge in your head isn't all that important. But what is important is that if a male primate, like a chimpanzee or a gorilla, has had sex with a female, by smell, kind of by instinct, by his body, he knows he's the dad of that baby. And that's kind of dangerous, because he also knows if he's not the dad of that baby. And so often with chimpanzees, but certainly the other primates, a male who knows he's not the dad of the female he's with will not just kill the baby, but eat it. Okay? So it's not just that males are useless, they're a positive danger if females let them know about paternity. Okay? I mean, Sarah Hurdy, if you're interested in this, just read her book. It's called Mothers and Others. There's another lovely book of hers called Mother Nature. And actually, male infanticide is the driving force behind nearly everything that happened in human evolution. The danger of male infanticide that females had to fight against. Yes? Yes, okay.
You know the Noah people of China?
Yes, yeah.
Are they, because they don't have any concept of fathers.
Yeah.
Nobody is kind of considered a husband.
Yeah.
They actually bring the women are free to bring the men home. They have to do it at night.
Do it by which you mean sex?
Yeah, and the king is making it as well.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering what it is about them that isn't matriarchy. I mean, why?
Oh no! Sorry, that is. I mean, if anyone's matriarchy, that's it. There's quite a large number of horticultural societies which are matrilocal and matrilineal, and I've got no problem with describing those as matriarchal societies. Yeah.
They literally have no concept of a father figure. The children are brought up by their mums.
That's right. That's right. There's a lovely book on all that stuff. In fact, there's several books now. And if you don't believe that this is possible, that you have a whole society where the concept of a father just ain't there, read the book. Yes, Jude.
It becomes like sexism hotspot now. I don't think
Sorry.
I think in China now that particular village has become a bit sexist.
There's actually a colleague of mine here, Ruth Mace, who's currently in China studying exactly those matrilineal, matrilocal, or if you like, matriarchal societies, and working out all the dynamics and doing a brilliant job of it. Yes, you're allowed to ask questions, even though you're a man. Yes.
Well, actually, you just told me to ask a question.
Well,
so.
all right, June. Sorry, do you mind? June here is a woman, and she's insisting she comes first. I will ask you next. Go on, June.
It's just you'd already asked me to speak. So.
Go on.
This flute that gets stolen in all the myths, or all similar, it's either a flute or another musical instrument.
Yeah.
What is it? Because it's not actually a flute, is it?
No, it's not what we would call a flute. It makes a sort of farting sound.
Okay, so it's a flute or it's a bull roarer, but what is it?
It's a large hollow log.
What does it symbolise?
Yes.
Ah, I see. Sorry.
It symbolises a power.
Ah, sorry. Okay.
Or a power object.
Okay. The way I look at it is this: is menstrual bleeding is constructed for the reason we discussed by women in order to deal with philandering males. Menstrual blood is constructed as powerful. It becomes powerful. It really is powerful. And women actually, in these rituals, spread the blood around, or adorn themselves with, pigment, ochre. So that's a loud signal. The blood is a loud visual signal. But you can amplify the signal, and you can amplify it with noise, a drum, a bull roarer. And in Aboriginal Australia, which is the continent with most use of bull roarers, the bull roarer woo, 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 makes that sound. It's the sound of the blood, and when you hear it, you know you've heard that sound before when you're in your mother's tummy. Woo, 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 woo. It's a roaring sound. So the bull roarers are, as sound makers, they're the sound of the heartbeat which pumps the blood.
That's interesting, because I was listening to the sound of my own heart in the hospital this afternoon, and do you know what it actually sounds like?
Oh, right, God.
It doesn't sound like that. It sounds like a washing machine. Maybe there's something wrong with my heart.
No, when your neighbours upstairs have the washing machine on, it sounds just like woo, 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 woo.
No, it's more like that.
Yeah, all right. Well, okay. Right. Yes. Hello. Yes. Right there. Yes. I've asked. Yes. Go on. No. Yes. Go on. Yes.
Yeah, Oh, fantastic stuff.
What's the matter? Oh, no, sorry. No, that's unfair. No. Sorry, that is unfair. No, that is unfair. Sorry. First, 1, 2. Yes. Yeah, go on. You're quick. It's unfair. I should ask. I forgot.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
in all instances actually, in an archetypal hunter-gatherer society, where you've explained the relevance of menstruation, what happens to the relevance of the other part of the propagation of the species, which is puberty in men? Do those ceremonies not exist? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
in an hunter-gatherer society, they can clearly exist in most other
Yes,
societies.
most, if you like, what should we say? Most traditional societies, most acephalous, that's societies without a headman. There's initiations for boys and initiations for girls. It's just that the African hunter-gatherers have a girls' initiation, and the boys get initiated by killing an animal, and they get initiated in ways which involve having their first sexual experience with a girl who's been through her ceremony. And with the Bambuti, the people I was just describing, I could have read a bit more out. What happens is that the boys, okay, the girls are in their Elima hut, they're having a great time, they're blessed by the moon, they're singing, the boys gather round. Every now and again the girls will rush out and playfully strike the boys. And they with a sapling, they hit the boy they fancy. And that boy is honor bound to go into that hut. And he is initiated into his first sex. So, can you see what I'm saying? Now he's not going to get it. Sorry?
That seems to be one example of society
Well,
that suits your perspective.
Well, okay. I mean, I can't deal with that. You can. I know.
It would seem to me in other societies.
Yes, I know. Yes, and male-dominated. Yes, I know. I'm certainly not saying that all societies are matrilineal or matrilocal or woman-empowering. There's lots and lots of patriarchal societies. All the societies that I'm mentioning here, with these myths of matriarchy, where we men stole power from women, you're quite right. They will have, in that big men's hut, a men's or boys' initiation ritual, overwhelmingly more important than the girls' initiation ritual. In fact, maybe the girls don't even have an initiation ritual. I'm not cherry picking. I'm totally aware that patriarchy exists and male initiation exists. And what's more interesting, as I describe in this book, is that where the men have their initiation rituals, like all across Australia, how do the men prove their potency, power, and ritual sacredness? Shall I tell you how? By menstruating. It's very hard. By menstruating, men can menstruate. Yeah.
They stole menstruation, that's what they did.
I should just tell you a story about this. Going back, here we are at UCL. I was here as I was actually a postman at the time, postman van driver, but I was coming to try and do some anthropology, and I had a lecture by the great figure here, who was Mary Douglas, Professor Mary Douglas, and she gave a lecture on the island of menstruating men. Okay, that was the book she was talking about. Wargeo, the Anthropology in Hogan. And on the island of menstruating men, every time a man feels a bit tired, a little bit low, not very sexy, not very vigorous, maybe hasn't hunted anything for ages, what does he have to do? Best thing to do is menstruate. So you go down to the edge of the water, you take your penis, you pull it up, you get a crab's claw, you put it up on the underside of the penis, all the water all around goes red, and it's purified you, because you're not allowed near a woman for quite a while now. Not that a woman would want you in that state. And now by being purified of contact with the opposite sex, you're now full of vigour. Now right across Australia, and I've got illustrations, I've got huge documentation, men menstruate. Now, there's different ways a man can menstruate. You can cut your penis, you don't do it yourself, you get somebody else to do it, you can cut your arm, you can have huge nosebleed, all sorts of ways. So all I'm suggesting is, you do have male initiation. The reason why the men say, we stole this from women, is because they're menstruating. The idea that men invented ritual menstruation, and don't forget the men are synchronizing their menstrual bleeding, and they say it's us bleeding. I know you. Listen, I know you haven't heard of this. Shall I tell you why you haven't heard about it? It's because it's a bit difficult to talk about. These were theological colleges. Nobody talks about this stuff. I've got absolute massive chapter and verse in this book. All the ethnographers who study these male cults whether it's Papua New Guinea, Amazonia, Australia, they'll describe the ways in which men menstruate, and they do it synchronously. When the men say we stole this from women, I believe them. I don't believe that men invented menstrual synchrony. I just don't. Right, okay, next. Sorry?
Yeah.
All cutting of the male genitals ultimately comes from that. So essentially what the men are saying when Judaism or any other kind of, it's like saying women, yeah, they can give birth to babies, but that's just flesh. Those babies need to be given the spirit. Only a man can give birth to somebody with spirit. So we've got to tamper with the birth, improve the genitals, cut them in some way, and then they're twice born. Women just give birth to flesh. To be properly born with your soul, however that's expressed, a man must take the place of the woman and do that birth all over again. Yeah? Yes. Okay, yes, go on. Well, I don't know, you've got your hand up. Actually, sorry, no, all right, there's lots of other hands up. Yes, right, hello, yes.
Hi, I'm very grateful for being in this talk. Like other people, I came because I saw it on Facebook, and I have a background in science, but I got engaged in entheogens and into partner sexual practices, and a lot of these came as visions and things that I did not understand. I was like, oh my God, he's just describing a lot of things I've seen before, and I know, and I'm very grateful the baby's here. Just having a baby in this talk makes me so
That's a marvellous, I think it's the first baby that sat through the whole Wow. Getting your education sorted out very early in life. Yes, go on.
And I have a question. You said something really relevant, which is like in these rituals where the women take power, and then they get bored of it, and they give it back, and there is always this kind of game. And I see that this is the kind of transformation. There is like the shift of power, and if you see it as a game, what do you see as happening, especially that we're no longer in that hunter-gatherer, like in a previous, swing, like, what do you see that could be different this time in this?
Right, okay, it's a really huge question. I can only sort of put it in terms of my own sort of story, really. I was heavily involved with two things in the mid-90s. One of them was Reclaim the Streets. Anyone know what I mean by Reclaim the Streets? Ring any bells? Okay, I was a sambista. I had a huge big surly drum, and what happened was I went to Liverpool I helped organise the Liverpool doctors had been on strike for a year. Went to Liverpool with Reclaim the Streets, my friends from London, including a lot of my students. We met the Liverpool School of Samba, and I'd already got a Native American drum, and I came back to UEL, and I said to everybody, I tell you what it is with drums, it's samba. Samba is like, once you're playing samba in the street, nobody can stop you. It's like you're ungovernable. So I linked up with those, for I don't know, 10 years or so I was a sambista. Loved it. But what we did was we also linked up with the Liverpool Dockers, and partly because of the samba. Why am I talking about the Liverpool Dockers? Because the Liverpool Dockers were on strike for 2 years, and increasingly the feeling I had was they loved being on strike. It was like they were saying that although we're on strike, we're not working. We're working harder than we've ever done on the docks, organising this international picket line. And the Reclaim the Streets people went the other way around. They hadn't done a day's work in their lives, most of them. I shouldn't say that, should I? But now they were working incredibly hard with the dockers, and both sides found a sort of a commonality in this work of organising carnival, organising pickets and making them sexy and full of music and dance right across the world. So our samba band it reached Chicago quite quickly. We were the Chicago Infernal Noise Brigade. We went right across Europe. We had this, I don't know, it was an environmental movement, but as a picket line as well. And what I hoped to happen, obviously I was far too optimistic, was at a certain point we realised kind of the value of just being on strike, because being on strike means that you are away from work, you're combining together, and in this case we're right across the world doing this and actually thinking about the future, thinking about the planet in this case, because we were on strike for environmental reasons. I won't go into it all. So what I would argue would be, what would be good would be to have an international strike, which was sexy, which was musical, which brought everyone out into the streets, and which wasn't just because of some immediate dispute, but was because actually we need a break. So what's happened now is that capitalism is, I think it's taken the piss. It's got rid of our saints' days, it's got rid of our Sundays, it's got rid of the night time, it's like 24/7, like money, 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 time is money. I just think, give us a effing break, you know, from all this. And instead of having 1/2 of the whole world population doing far more work than is good for them, you know, that's living their whole lives in some ridiculous factory somewhere, making iPhones for the West, somewhere in, I don't know, China or wherever, South Korea, wherever. Instead of having 1/2 of the global population doing far more work than is good for them, and then another half of the population out of work, which is like a spatial division, this lot out of work, this lot in work, why not do it on a temporal basis? Why not have all of us in work for half the month, then all of us on strike for half the month? Okay?
Yeah.
Using the moon as a clock. That's my image. And then that would be a clock that women would feel comfortable with. Okay? You would all have that clock. Are we supposed to be at work, or is it this playtime? Oh, what about my cycle? Okay, and you find out. Yes, somebody else was asking. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
Right, just 3 quick points comments I want to make, right? Of all the societies that have been studied where... Sorry,
of all the societies which have been studied, do you want to stand up so you can talk to the back?
Of all the societies that have been studied where matrilineally or matriarchy has changed to patriarchy, there has been no instance where patriarchy has changed into matriarchy.
That's right.
So what it means is that matriarchy came first.
That's right.
And it was overthrown by patriarchy.
That's right.
So that's one point, right?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. The other thing is Ruth and Mace, you mentioned that earlier, right? Now they study the spread of, if you like, herding society.
That's right, yeah.
From sort of northern part of Africa down to south.
Well done, that's
and
great.
They found out that wherever the herding way of life spread, the matrilineal society was overthrown.
That's right.
And it changed into
That's
patriarchy.
right. Yeah.
They've actually shown that.
That's
They
right.
studied it and they shown that.
Which completely vindicates Morgan and Frederick Engels, the co-founder of communism with Karl Marx.
Okay.
Totally proves that they got it right. Yes, go on. Yeah.
Right, the third point is India, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we look at Indian history from around about 200, 300 AD to around about 1200 AD, that's what is known to the historian as the Tantric period. Now, what it means is that in that time, you had a kind of, before that, a long time before that, the Indian mother goddess was supreme, if you like, amongst the common people.
The Indian mother goddess.
Mother goddess, yeah?
What? Yeah.
Goddess.
Yeah.
Goddess.
But she was supreme.
Goddesses. Yeah. Sorry?
What did you call her?
Various names depending which part of India you were in.
Okay.
Right? But sometimes, there's the great mother. It could also have kind of fertile reproductive aspects and sometimes destructive aspects. Yeah? Okay. Now, in this period, what happens is that the so-called Aryan way of life, which is based on pastoralism, plough-based agriculture, spreads into hunter-gathering, garden sort of agriculture type of society. And we see actually in history the overthrow of the mother goddess, if you like, turned completely into its opposite, and all the rituals are turned into its opposite. So what you see in the West as Tantra, right, which is sort of very kind of sexy, sensual kind of thing, is nothing like that. If you study history, you see that it actually is the other way around.
So what was Tantra originally?
Tantra originally is a sort of, if you like, a religion of fertility, celebrating women's fertility and celebrating Mother Goddess. It now becomes a kind of technique to control women, to control their power.
Of course.
So when if you look at Tibetan Tantra, for example, the Dalai Lama variety, that's an excellent example of, you think on the surface that, this is celebrating women's power. In fact, it isn't. It's quite the opposite. And that's the whole history of Tantra in India. And that's actually is related to the spread of the caste system and spread of feudalism into what we call the tribal areas in India. sorry. That's
So
what
India
I'm
was
saying.
once matriarchal right across the plate. The whole
Well, I've got
continent.
a book here, you know, the Khasis. That's
Okay.
They're
Oh
still
yes,
matriarchal.
yes, still matriarchal. Yes. Okay, yeah.
What's the book, sorry?
Yes, yes.
The Khasis.
Okay, we have a Cassie.
Oh, sorry. Who do I ask next? Yes. A Kasi person. Where's the Kasi person? Oh, right. Fantastic. You got one. Hello.
I come from a matriarchal.
Oh, right.
Cassie, and I can relate a lot to what you were saying, particularly on the collective child care. It is very interesting. But we are a society that is under tension.
Yes.
And one of the tensions has come is that everyone, because I come from northeast India, where one of the provinces is mainly matriarchal communities for what is called Meghalaya. And the government, the people, and the people in power say that you are a matrilineal society. By using the word matrilineal is to emphasize land belongs to women,
Yeah.
the children belong to the women,
Yeah.
and it is controlled. But when you talk to the communities, they say that the issue of us owning the land and the children belong is not as important as the nurturing role that we play as mothers. And very often, when you speak of matriarchy, in the understanding of the local community, it is the nurturing role.
Yeah.
Whereas matrilineal is spoken, at least in, I'm not an anthropologist, in the terms of local people, it's just a question about land ownership.
Well, matrilineal isn't being land ownership, it means ownership of children, doesn't it? Who do the children,
But
which clan do the children
more
belong to?
It's more the caring aspect.
Yeah.
It's more that role that is the important aspect of matriarchy, as local communities sort of understand. But one of the issues that I wanted to raise that, but the patronizing aspect of the community is very strong, and very soon they will become patriarchal communities. There are all sorts of forces that are being used. Now, you speak a lot about the hunter-gatherers, and I wonder, are there any lessons after all the hunter-gatherers, like many matriarchal communities, are egalitarian and have many aspects which modern society is trying to sustain or develop. But you see that hunter-gatherers have given way to agriculture. And I was wondering, are there any lessons that modern-day matriarchal communities can learn from that sort of
Okay, that's a wonderful question. We've reached half past 8, and I can see people slightly fidgeting, so we're going to, I think it's right to stop, but I'm going to answer the question very, very, very briefly. One of the reasons why I'm especially interested in hunter-gatherers is because we humans evolved all of our instincts, our bodies, the design of our eyes, everything about us has evolved from when we were hunters and gatherers. So we're designed for egalitarianism. We all feel very, I don't know, to work with a boss, not to be able to joke and laugh the whole time, it's like we feel stressful. And laughter is a huge medication, really. It's a wonderful therapy, and you can only laugh with your equals. You can laugh at the boss behind his back, but so there are all kinds of reasons why hunters and gatherers are especially interesting, because we were all hunters and gatherers. It wasn't just us. So the matrilineal and matriarchy which we're talking about wasn't just like here and there scattered around as one choice. All of us come from that background. We've got the bodies and the eyes and the designs, the bodily designs, including of course the menstrual cycle, of egalitarians. And if you come to this class a bit more, those of you who are new to this, we're saying that, okay, there's a concept called the human revolution. Most archaeologists now agree that becoming human, evolving, I don't know, language for example, wasn't purely a Darwinian gradualist, bit more thing. There came a point, rather like if you heat water up, it starts to bubble and suddenly it's boiling, or if you cool it, it suddenly turns to ice. In the course of evolution, there was a sort of moment when suddenly everything took off, and we were dancing, singing, linguistically articulate humans that all of us are now, and we call that a revolution. So evolution culminated in revolution. and the revolution produced a result of this kind you've been telling us a bit about, all of us would feel comfortable living among hunters and gatherers. Or if we're in any way, I don't know, you don't have to be a Corbynista. I happen to be a bit of a Corbynista. I've always been a socialist. But I mean, all of young people who love all this ideas of egalitarianism and sharing and stuff, and don't really like all this hierarchical corporate crap, we would feel so comfortable living with hunters and gatherers. So hunter-gatherers, if you like, they live in the future. Or rather, put it another way, supposing our species has a future, supposing we don't completely mess everything up with global warming and make a pretty much uninhabitable planet, supposing we sort things out, it would need you lot to do that, by the way. It would need you to get moving quite soon, actually, all of us. But supposing we have a future, what I would say was that hunter-gatherers wouldn't have to do a lot of change. They could teach us how to live in an egalitarian society, because they're doing it already. We're doing here at UCL, we do reverse anthropology. Instead of trying to develop hunter-gatherers, by the way, development in Africa just means absolute rubbish. What it means is taking people who lived perfectly well in the past, brilliant lifestyle, the best diet you can possibly have, hunter-gatherers have, and making them live on the edge of towns, grabbing little bits of electric wiring and trash to try to sell. It doesn't mean that they're going to be wealthy. So instead of saying you people must develop, and we anthropologists from the West are going to teach you how to develop, here we do reverse anthropology. We here in the West, we need to be developed a bit. Morally, socially, politically, we need some development. We need to be taught. And the thing about this once a month revolution is that that's how the revolution will have to be in the future. If supposing, as I say, I'm a Corbynista, I don't know, we're kind of revolutionaries, but obviously a revolutionary, even if you had a revolution in Britain, it wouldn't be worth anything if it didn't immediately spread around the entire planet. But even if you did spread around the entire planet, what next? Okay, we've got the power. We've got the entire planet. It's all socialist. We've got a new state. No, I don't think so. I think the first thing to do, having seized power across the entire planet, would be this. Give it up. Let go. Let anyone else do whatever they want, so long as we only give up that power for a very brief period. 2 weeks. Half of a moon, okay? Half of a moon is not enough time for them to build up a banking system, an army, borders, okay? But on the other hand, letting them try for 2 weeks would be great fun, because then we could overthrow them all over again. So the message is, and you've asked about the lessons, the message is simple. We know how to win a revolution. We're humans. We've won that revolution, maybe in the past, but we did it once. We can do it again.